Imagine walking out to your garden next April and finding it already full. Flowers blooming in spots you never planted. Bare patches filled in on their own. Colors spreading exactly where last year's plants used to stand. No seed trays, no spring shopping trip, no replanting. That's exactly what self-seeding perennials do, year after year, completely on their own. And right now, in the back half of June, you still have a real window to get 11 of the best ones into the ground, before that window closes for the year. Hey everyone, welcome to Harvest Root. If you're new here, this is the channel for gardeners who'd rather work with nature than fight it every spring. If that sounds like you, go ahead and hit subscribe before we get started. Because today, we're covering 11 self-seeding plants you can still get in before July ends. Plants that bloom, drop their own seed, and come back thicker and better every single year without you lifting a shovel. Let's get into it. Plant 1, Black-Eyed Susan. Rudbeckia hirta. Black-Eyed Susan is native to the prairies and meadows of the central and eastern United States, and Cherokee healers were brewing its roots into infusions for colds long before it ever showed up in a garden catalog. It's now Maryland's state flower, and university extension research has found its seeds germinate at unusually high rates once they land on bare soil and go through a natural winter chill. A single planting can support more than 40 species of native bees. Give it full sun, average well-drained soil, and zones 3 through 9. Plant now, and the roots will be strong enough to drop a full seed crop by fall. Skip the deadheading. Let the seed heads stand through winter so birds can feed on them, and the seeds fall naturally. Thin the seedlings that pop up in spring to about a foot apart, and within 2 or 3 seasons, this plant will have colonized the whole bed on its own. Plant 2, Purple Coneflower. Echinacea purpurea. This is the wildflower most people picture when they think native garden. Rosy purple petals fanned around a spiky orange cone, drawing butterflies and goldfinches from midsummer into fall. Echinacea has one of the longest medicinal histories of any North American plant. The Lakota, Cheyenne, and Comanche were treating wounds and sore throats with it for generations before European settlers ever arrived, and it eventually became one of the best-selling herbal supplements on the planet. Clinical research out of the University of Cologne found that Echinacea extract cut cold incidence by roughly a third in trial participants. In the garden, it's just as valuable to monarchs, painted ladies, and dozens of native bee species, planted in full sun and well-drained soil, zones 3 through 9. A June planting gives it a full season to establish before it starts seeding on its own each fall. Leave the seed heads up for the goldfinches and let them self-sow. New seedlings show up within about 1.5 feet of the parent plant, and the whole patch keeps expanding without you buying a single new plant. Plant 3, Columbine. Aquilegia species. Columbine is the self-seeder with a sense of humor. Every new generation can come back a slightly different color than its parent. The spurred, bell-shaped flowers range from deep purple to soft yellow, and wild species grow across North America, Europe, and Asia. Thomas Jefferson grew it in the gardens at Monticello, and Colorado State University research has confirmed that Columbine cross-pollinates so freely that self-seeded plants rarely match the parent exactly, which is honestly half the fun of letting it spread. The long nectar spurs are basically a landing strip built for hummingbirds and hawk moths. Give it part shade to full sun and rich, well-drained soil, zones 3 through 8. Get it in now, and it'll root in before peak summer heat, though it may sulk a little in extreme heat before bouncing back in fall. Let the papery seed pods dry and split naturally, usually in July or August, and don't touch the seedlings until they're at least a few inches tall. Then just step back and let the garden surprise you. Plant 4, Hollyhock Alcea rosea. Most people grow hollyhock thinking it's a one-and-done annual, with no idea it'll happily reseed in the exact same spot for decades. Tall flower spikes in everything from pure white to near black burgundy attract hummingbirds and turn into a permanent garden fixture with almost no upkeep. Hollyhocks originated in Central Asia and the Eastern Mediterranean, reached England by the 1500s, and became such a staple of English cottage gardens that they show up in paintings by Constable and Monet. Colonial settlers grew them as medicine too. The mucilaginous roots and flowers were a folk remedy for sore throats, a use that modern research has actually backed up. Plant in full sun and average soil, zones 3 through 9. Ideally now so seedlings can form a sturdy rosette before winter and bloom the following summer. Let the seed stalks dry and shatter on their own, usually by September, and give plants good airflow to keep hollyhock rust. A cosmetic issue, not a fatal one. Under control. Once hollyhocks find a spot they like, They return to that exact spot year after year, almost like they've decided it belongs to them. Quick pause. Drop a comment below, and let me know which of these 11 you're most excited to plant this year. I read every single one. Plant 5. Verbena bonariensis. This is the tall, see-through plant that professional garden designers use to fill gaps without blocking the view behind it. Clouds of tiny purple flowers on wiry, almost invisible stems, blooming from midsummer straight through frost. It's native to the grasslands of Argentina and Brazil, and it became a design staple after Piet Tudolf built it into the prairie-style plantings that reshaped garden design in the 90s and 2000s. UK pollinator surveys have ranked it among the top 3 plants in the country for attracting butterflies, with painted ladies and red admirals showing up in numbers that beat almost every other common garden plant. Plant in full sun, well-drained soil, zones 7 through 11 as a true perennial, or treat it as a self-seeding annual in zones 5 and 6. Leave the seed heads standing through winter, since frost helps release the seeds gradually, and mark where the grass-like seedlings come up in spring so you don't accidentally weed them out. Once you know what they look like, you'll spot them everywhere. Plant 6, Feverfew, Tanatetum parthenium feverfew, earns its spot on this list twice over. It self-seeds enthusiastically, and it's a genuine medicinal herb. Small white daisy-like flowers with yellow centers bloom from late spring through summer, and the plant has been used to treat headaches since at least the 1st century, when the Greek physician Dioscorides wrote about it. Clinical trials published in The Lancet in the 1980s confirmed that regularly eating fresh feverfew leaves reduces both the frequency and severity of migraines, thanks to a compound called parthenolide. In the garden, the strongly scented foliage also happens to repel deer and rabbits. Plant in full sun to part shade, average soil, zones 5 through 9. A June planting blooms and seeds in the same year, and one mature plant can produce dozens of seedlings within 2 seasons. So pull the extras early each spring before they take over the bed. Plant 7, Sweet William, Dianthus barbatus. This is the fragrant cottage garden classic that most people don't realize is a self-seeder at all. Flat clusters of intricately patterned flowers in white, pink, red, and bicolor bloom from late spring into early summer, and the scent gets noticeably stronger in the evening. So plant it near a patio or walkway and you'll smell it on summer nights. Native to the Pyrenees and Southern Alps, it's been grown in European gardens since at least the 1500s and was a staple of American cottage gardens by the 1800s. Its seeds germinate at rates above 80% when scattered on bare soil in late summer, which is exactly why it comes back so reliably. Plant in full sun to part shade, average soil, zones 3 through 9. Get it in now for first-year rosettes that overwinter and bloom the following May and June. After that first cycle, it keeps going entirely on its own. Plant 8, Larkspur, Consolida ajacis tall. Elegant spikes of blue, purple, pink, and white bloom in late spring, fade in summer heat, then come roaring back as fall seedlings that overwinter as small rosettes and bloom again the next spring, on repeat, indefinitely. Larkspur is native to the Mediterranean and Western Asia, and dried sprigs of it have actually been found in Egyptian funeral garlands dating back 3,000 years. The seeds need a period of cold before they'll germinate well, which explains why it self-seeds so successfully anywhere winters get genuinely cold. One note, the seeds are toxic to livestock, so keep them away from grazing animals, though they're completely fine for ornamental garden use. Surface scatter seeds in full sun, well-drained soil, zones 2 through 11. Don't try to transplant larkspur. It hates having its roots disturbed and does best sown exactly where you want it to grow long-term. Plant 9, Johnny Jump Up, Viola tricolor. Pound for pound, this might be the most aggressive self-seeder on the entire list. Tiny purple, yellow, and white pansy-faced flowers bloom from early spring through summer, and the seed pods actually explode, flinging seeds up to 4 feet in every direction, a process botanists call ballicory. Native across Europe and Western Asia, it's been used medicinally since antiquity, and even gets a mention in Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. Research has shown the flowers are a critical early food source for bumblebee queens just emerging from hibernation, since they bloom before most other nectar sources are available. Plant in part shade to full sun, well-drained soil, zones 3 through 9. Once established, expect it to show up everywhere. Cracks in pavement, gravel paths, the base of walls, completely uninvited and completely welcome. Plant 10, bronze fennel, Phobnal, vulgare var, purpureum. This is the feathery, bronze-purple foliage plant that fills the back of a border, while quietly doing more for pollinators than almost anything else you can grow. The Royal Horticultural Society has recorded over 150 different insect species visiting fennel flowers in a single season. And it's also the only larval food plant for black swallowtail and anise swallowtail butterflies in North America. The plant's history runs deep. The ancient battlefield of Marathon was named for the wild fennel growing there. Plant in full sun, average well-drained soil, zones 4 through 9. A planting now grows into a large, established plant by fall that self-seeds freely afterward. Thin out extra seedlings each spring so it doesn't take over a small space, and keep it away from dill nearby. The two cross-pollinate, and both lose their distinct flavor. Plant 11. Lupin. Lupinus polyphyllus. We're closing with one of the most dramatic flowers you can grow. Dense, towering spikes packed with purple, blue, pink, red, or white blooms from late spring into early summer, drawing bumblebees in serious numbers. Lupin is native to the Pacific coast, from California up into British Columbia, and the modern hybrid varieties most people grow today trace back to English nurseryman George Russell, whose decades of careful breeding caused a sensation at the 1937 Chelsea Flower Show. Beyond the looks, lupins are nitrogen fixers. They partner with soil bacteria to convert atmospheric nitrogen into a form other nearby plants can use, quietly improving your soil over time. Plant in full sun to part shade, slightly acidic, well-drained soil, zones 4 through 8. Lupins do best in cooler climates or at elevation in warmer regions. Lightly scuff the seed coat with sandpaper before planting to speed up germination. Then let the pods dry and snap open naturally. Once a colony settles in, it expands on its own with almost no maintenance. And that's 11 self-seeding plants that will keep filling your garden in, year after year, without another trip to the nursery. From the native powerhouse of black-eyed Susan and coneflower, to the medicinal value packed into Feverfew, to the sheer drama of Lupin and Larkspur. The catch is timing. Most of these need to go in before July ends, so they have enough season left to root in and start their first seed cycle. So if you've been putting this off, this is the week to actually do it. If this helped, do 3 things for me. Subscribe to Harvest Root so you don't miss what's coming next. Drop a comment telling me which of these 11 you're planting before the month is out. And give this video a thumbs up, so more gardeners trying to build a low-maintenance garden can find it. I'll see you in the next one.